Located on the sunny Mediterranean shore of southern France, Marseille will surprise you. It's the country's second biggest city and one of the main tourist destinations, getting 4 million visitors a year. We're going to show you some of the highlights of Marseille, illustrating how much of the city you can see even if you only have half a day, which gives enough time for a look at downtown and especially the marina, the central harbor of the old town. And we'll have a look at some restaurants around the waterfront and take a walk in the pedestrian zone. There are very good train connections to Marseille with frequent service by the high-speed TGV as well as by local train, for example from nearby Aix-en-Provence. St. Charles Station is so convenient because it's located right in the heart of downtown. It's a modernized facility with a lot of shops and a convenient escalator to get you down to street level. The map shows the overall walking route that we'll be taking you along in the video. It only takes a couple of minutes to walk to the main street. An easy downhill stroll on the side street that right away gives you a feeling of the authentic, if gritty, charm of Marseille. A view of the church of St. Vincent de Paul. Before you know it, you've arrived at the city's main street, La Canebière. So you're immediately in the center of town, strolling along a grand boulevard. Our touring plan for Marseille is quite modest. We're just going to take a stroll through the main section of downtown and along the marina and into the old town and around a little bit more for several hours, give you a brief look at it and get a feeling for the place. Strolling along this fine street makes it seem like you are in a smaller version of Paris. The sidewalks are wide, there's a tram running down the middle, shops and cafés line both sides, scooters glide by, and there's lots of people always out strolling. Trees provide greenery, and these 4-story buildings create a human scale. The Bourse shopping mall is one of the main retail complexes here, and it's located right next to the original Bourse, the old stock exchange. Currently, the Bourse houses the Chamber of Commerce that was established way back in 1599. Take a quick peek inside to appreciate the large rotunda and impressive interior, and maybe one of their regular exhibits is happening. Some of these streets are pedestrian malls with no cars, and others are just quiet streets where people walk in the street and they share it with automobiles. It's all very friendly. It gets even better when you reach the waterfront end of La Canabière at the vast marina and with more major streets peeling off in various directions. This total walk from the train station to the waterfront, it's only about 1,000 meters, which takes 15 minutes at normal walking speed, but probably longer because you want to stop and detour along the way. The old port and neighborhoods around it are the most interesting parts of Marseille for the visitor. It's a wonderful marina, about 80 acres in size, with 2,000 pleasure boats tied up along its 50 docks. Sailboats, big yachts, fishing boats, excursion, and motorcraft. In season, you can get boat rides to view the famous picturesque rocky coves along the coastline. The tranquility of this viewport has been protected because cruise and cargo ships dock around the bend in a different harbor, which is the busiest in the nation. Marseille was historically the most important trade center of France and the region, and for 2,500 years, this old port is where all the action took place. Big natural harbor. Walk along the right side of the marina on the Quai du Port, passing many attractive sidewalk restaurants that might tempt you back later on. You'll find similar restaurants on all 3 sides of the marina in this old port of Marseille. Views of the boats tied up on both sides of the basin are quite lovely. The total length of the marina section is about 600 meters, so it's very easy to walk the full length and enjoy the view. City Hall is in a grand old building on the waterfront, and behind it is a pedestrian zone of the old town we'll show you in a little while. The buildings running along this side of the marina have a series of covered arcades, which is pretty handy to shelter you from the sun or from the rain, as we found out. We had a little bit of a shower. Just before reaching the very end of the marina, cross the street at the traffic light and walk to the left a block and go up the 2 levels of the stone Saint Laurent staircase to a terrace where you'll get the best view of Marseille. Recognized as the oldest town in France and one of the oldest in Europe, Marseille was founded about 600 BC by the Phocians. It was a Greek culture from the coast of Turkey, and they named it Massilia. They established many coastal towns along the Mediterranean, including Nice, Antibes, and explored parts of the coast of Africa. But Marseille was their most important. With increasing Roman influence by the 5th century BC, Marseille became an important trading center with goods brought by ships across the Mediterranean and transferred to the Rhone River for delivery north into Gaul. The forts were built at the time of King Louis XIV to control the population of Marseille, which had always been somewhat rebellious. Continue along the terrace to a black metal pedestrian bridge that leads to more terraces and the spectacular Museum of European and Mediterranean Civilizations. Opened here in 2013, this bold modern building, built on reclaimed land in the harbor, is dedicated to Mediterranean civilization, past and present. Called Nukem, the building is a cube of 15,000 square meters surrounded by a latticework shell of fiber-reinforced concrete and houses exhibits on 2 different levels, with a cafe on the roof and a cluster of gourmet restaurants inside. You can quickly reach the old town in a 5-minute walk from the museum terrace. The urban explorer will enjoy various pedestrian lanes here and picturesque staircase streets with a scatter of neighborhood shops and cafes. You'll be assisted by a helpful red line that's been painted directly on the sidewalk to guide your way so that you don't get lost. After being damaged severely in World War II, this old zone was rebuilt in the traditional style with narrow lanes, but frankly it's still a bit scruffy with lots of graffiti scrawled on some beat-up old buildings, which makes it all the more interesting as a neighborhood in transition, becoming a newly hip, authentic bohemian space away from the tourist crowd. Shoppers are going to appreciate those little boutiques and craft stores selling unique goods made in the area, ceramics, jewelry, various artsy items at reasonable prices. You might be tempted to deviate from suggested routes and explore whatever lane, staircase, or plaza looks good. The easiest route through the scenic old town is just follow that suggested red line. It requires a little bit of up and down. After all, this neighborhood is on a hill, but just follow the lanes and you'll easily find your way back to the marina. You'll probably come down next to the city hall that you had passed by earlier, with this modern statue out front, and walking along the shores you'll come to the big Ferris wheel and get back into the heart of town, passing more of those lovely outdoor restaurants. Don't be surprised if you see some foreign Navy personnel here, part of that ongoing tradition happening for thousands of years. Galeries Lafayette, part of that major Bourse shopping center. Another pleasant section of the waterfront is across the marina on the south side, with a series of broad avenues and plazas, pedestrian streets, and many restaurants. Walk past the top of the port on the Quai de la Fraternité to Courbeillard and explore the 4 blocks leading from here along the waterfront with side lanes for pedestrians. The city's largest outdoor plaza is 1 block inland with many outdoor restaurants in an open space that was created in the 1980s after community activists got together and pressured the government to demolish a huge parking lot and put the cars underground here. Running through the middle is a classic pedestrian street, Rue Sanson. Obviously, there's a lot more to see in Marseille, but we've just been doing a little reconnaissance today, a little walk through some of the main highlights. With more time, you could enjoy dozens of museums, hilltop viewpoints, modern architectural landmarks, the tourist tram, bicycle tours, old churches, wine tastings, and so forth. However, our stroll through the center has shown you the real heart of the city with a little taste of the ethnic diversity. And the total distance we've been covering in this video adds up to just under 4 miles, so it's not that far. You can do it in a few hours. You can always take a bus tour or one of these little train tours if you'd rather not walk so much. And by all means, stop in at the Tourist Information Office to get some brochures and some free advice. For departure, you could easily walk back from the old port to the train station, which is just 1,000 meters slightly uphill from this part of town, but instead try the metro. It has a convenient entrance across the street from the marina. You can buy your metro ticket right on the spot here in the station and lobby. The machines take cash or credit card, and then you'll get your ticket and you put it into the turnstile and inside you go. And it's very easy to get around on this underground train. Just a couple of stops from the harbor to the station, a couple of minutes. It's always fun to travel like a local and save a little time, especially here where it's so convenient and we're not traveling during rush hour, so the train is not crowded. It's the only metro station I've seen with a big fish tank, which has been here for many years. The fish are doing quite nicely. It's a good diversion to check them out while waiting for the next train, which arrives in a few minutes. Naturally, you don't want to ride in the metro at rush hour, say anytime between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. because it'll be pretty crowded, but during the non-peak hours, you'll have plenty of room. You might even get lucky and enjoy some live entertainment. We just caught the tail end of this musician, but he must have been good because as he worked the car for tips, they were rewarding him nicely. It's a smooth, quick ride, only 2 stops, so within a few minutes we are arriving at the main train station. When you get out of the metro at the St. Charles station, it's easy to find your way. Just follow the signs. Everything is very clean, safe, and well lit, and they have big escalators. The metro is deep underground, so don't climb up the staircase outside the building. Even if you walk here, go inside the station and take the escalators. It just takes a few minutes and you'll arrive in the central station platform area. They have done an incredible job of rebuilding and expanding and modernizing this train station in recent years, just like they have improved the city so much overall. The station seems to have doubled in size and become an indoor shopping mall and entertainment center. You might even see musicians. How nice to have a piano available for the public. Anybody can just sit down and start playing. It's part of a delightful musical trend that's happening in many of the big train stations throughout Europe. Pianos freely available for all to play. It's a very large and busy station. You can get direct trains to many parts of the country from here. For example, Paris is only 3 hours away by TGV. Quite remarkable. This is one of many programs that we have about the south of France, covering Carcassonne, Arles, Avignon, Marseille, Nice, Cannes, Antibes, Saint-Paul-de-Vence, and on to Monaco. Look for them all in our collection.